Welcome to News and Brews with the Times, where we spill the tea on what's happening in Hall County, Georgia. It's May 26, 2025. We hope you're having a wonderful holiday or had such a nice long weekend that you're catching up with us a little bit late. Either way, we've got news for you about Lake Lanier, schools, and Whataburger. Good morning, I'm Shannon Casas.
And I'm Stacy Smith. Grab your favorite brew and take a sip as we guide you through what's been happening in Hall County. You can also find all these stories online at the link in our show notes.
It is Memorial Day if you are listening on Monday when this releases, and that is always a big one on Lake Lanier. Leading up to it, we had some big news about parks on Lake Lanier closing.
Yeah, that was a little bit hard to keep up with. It was one report, then next one says something completely different. What's the latest? What's going on there?
So the Corps of Engineers announced that they were closing what sounded like all of the parks on Lake Lanier. Now, the Corps manages a lot of our parks, but not all of them. Some of them are run by the state, some are run by the city, some are run by the county. But they were going to close 14 parks just within Hall County and 21 total. Then that news broke. There was a lot of conversation, some pressure put on politicians. Politicians got in touch with the Corps and they've pushed, and they are now not closing quite as many. They are keeping 9 of them open in Hall County specifically.
Well, at least they kept some of them open. I mean, I know that this weekend is huge for that kind of activity, that kind of recreation. So it's kind of crazy that they chose now to announce any kind of closures. Seems a little bit suspicious to me. But
yeah, we definitely had some people commenting that the timing seemed political. I think including some of our politicians for saying that, I believe. It definitely put the pressure on. These are definitely, parks that are used. A lot of them are boat ramps. Some of them have beaches.
True. Yes. I saw on some of the comments that people were suggesting that the move to keep just the boat ramps open was classist.
Yeah, people had a lot of thoughts.
What did the Corps say about why they were making this decision in the first place?
They have said that current staffing levels don't allow them to maintain the necessary safety measures within the parks. A lot of these parks, you don't see the Corps out there very frequently, but the parks do require some kind of maintenance and the Corps managing them. So what the Corps has said is they don't have the staffing, and so they have shut these parks down.
Well, this is what the Hall Parks Director, Brent Holloway, had to say.
We're planning for these closures, and I would just encourage all visitors to be prepared for increased traffic at the locations where we still do have access. That includes Laurel Park, Wahoo Creek, and all of our campgrounds. Now at Old Federal, Bolding Mill, and Duckett Mill, those campgrounds specifically are restricted for campground use. Outside of the campgrounds at Bolding Mill and Duckett Mill, we will have boat ramp access, so those will remain open. At Old Federal, that is considered a separate and distinct property by the Corps of Engineers, and it will not be open. We will have day use and boat ramp available at River Forks, where you can come in and pay a daily fee and get access to those locations. Parking will be limited, so be prepared for that. And, we're kind of preparing for that throughout all of our locations. We know that this is the busiest weekend of the year on Lake Lanier, and we are expecting just increased traffic at the locations that will remain open. And so we're doing what we can to be prepared for that.
The day that this was announced, some community members knew before we even reported on it, because the park rangers were out there putting barricades up and putting giant rocks in parking spaces. Well, that's what, according to Kelly Whitmire at Forsyth County News.
The Times reporting staff, along with our sister papers in Forsyth and Dawson, were all working on this story. And I know Kelly Whitmire over in Forsyth talked with some folks who were out at the parks as they were closed down. I believe we had some news about someone saying over an intercom or a loudspeaker, the park is closed. They were putting up barricades.
Oh, wow. I know I did read that as well, actually, now that you're saying that. And one guy was like, I heard the news and I couldn't believe it. I had to go check it out for myself. So he ran home from work to go look at his park that he walks every day with his dog. And sure enough, they were out there barricading it.
Yeah, it sounded a little dramatic. But I mean, I guess that's how you close a park. And it's just such like, it just seemed to come out of nowhere. Like,
Yes.
and that's not entirely true. Like the Corps has over the past several years been looking to work with other governments to take over leases, which Hall County has done in a lot of cases. So they have had issues with staffing, but just seems to have gotten to this crisis
To a boiling point. Yeah. And they were just like, well, this is where we're at. We've got to close them down. And then some local politicians, you said, stepped in.
Yeah, so several of them. The ones by my house will still be open, so I can launch my kayak.
I think that the ones by my house are on the list that will remain closed.
So for that full list of parks that are open and or closed, the latest will be on GainesvilleTimes.com, and you can check the link in our show notes, of course. So it's definitely something to keep up with, and Memorial Day weekend was definitely a big time for people to be looking for those parks, but of course, throughout the summer, these parks have been used in the past, so we'll see how this all shakes out. Of course, the lake is very busy all summer long, and it seems to have earned this reputation of being very, very dangerous, especially, I think, folks down in Metro Atlanta talk about it being haunted, and we have so many drownings. So another piece that we had this last week was simply some data on what that has looked like in the past decade.
Yeah, so I saw that list that you put together. You did some really nice graphics showing the data over the last 10 years, and it ranges anywhere from 4 deaths to 17. Tell us about what we've seen specifically in the last few years.
Yeah, it does vary a lot. And the way that the Department of Natural Resources tracks these numbers, and they track boating fatalities and drownings, which is what's represented on our chart. So each year we have a certain number of people who will die in the lake. And unfortunately, that's something that we cover.
It's very sad. We just had that one kayaker. It's something that everybody in the community pays attention to.
Yeah.
After the fact.
Yeah. And it definitely got warm early. We've kind of had a weird weather with it swinging back and forth, but we've had that wing surfer and the kayaker. So we've already had 2 deaths even before Memorial Day weekend.
Wow. I think that Lake Lanier, and I don't want to just spit out false facts here, but I think Lake Lanier is one of the larger reported deaths every year in the region, at least. Is there a reason for that?
So it is also one of the most visited lakes. We have more than 12 million people coming here every year. And I think its proximity to Atlanta, too, makes it, one, popular, but also when something happens, the Atlanta media will be on top of that as well. So you see it in the news. And yes, we do have more than other smaller lakes in the state, just somewhat based on the population. There are also some other factors that do make it seem dangerous, at least to me. We definitely have people talk about drinking on the lake. The number of BUIs is pretty significant each year. It's also a lake that is just murky. It's hard to see. Mm-hmm. People will jump off a boat and then they just don't come back up. It sounds haunted.
It's a fear. It's a fear. I grew up here, so being in the lake every summer has always been something that we did. That was just our go-to recreation. And we did some stupid stuff, but like jumping into the lake from a rope swing or from off of a boat even, you don't know what's underneath you. And anytime you touch anything, like you can touch something with your feet in the lake and you don't know what it is. And that is not a comfortable feeling. But the reality is it is dangerous. Like it could be anything. It could be an old tree trunk that's my internal fear. It's like, I'm going to get stabbed if I jump in here and just never come up.
Yeah. So, Lake Lanier was built in the 50s by damming the Chattahoochee River, and it slowly filled. They did cut all of the trees off at that point. And yes, there are things underneath there, but they are all like below 1030. It's like sea level. That's when they cut it. And then they kept filling it, and its full pool is 1070. So yes, there's things underneath there, but a lot of it has been stuff that's been thrown in later. So, for example, people might deposit a tree somewhere in the lake as a fishing habitat, and now that's there. Or, trash. There's just...
I like how you said might there. That definitely happens.
Yes. Yeah, so there's a lot in it. There's fishing line. You can get twisted up in stuff, I think. I know that I always wear a life jacket. Make my kids wear a life jacket. They've got a rope swing they like to jump off of. And of all of the drownings that we have reported in my time here, none of them have been wearing life jackets.
That's interesting. So bottom line, wear a life jacket, people.
Yep. Even if you're on a boat, I know our authorities have said in the past, if you're in a boat and then you crash, you get thrown overboard, you're unconscious. It doesn't matter how well you can swim.
That's true.
And I know it's not comfortable wearing a life jacket on a boat. Nobody wants to do that. It's messing up your tan lines.
It's giving me really bad farmer's tan.
Safety-wise, it's a good choice.
It's a good choice. Anything could happen. Anything could happen. So definitely always have your life jacket on. And then this is nothing you have to worry about.
Yeah. And all that said, remember, 12 million people coming out to the lake each year. And in the past decade, 17 dying in 1 year was the highest. It's dangerous, but just keep it in perspective.
If you haven't heard about our Tastemakers and Trendsetters series online, Life editor Greg Finan Jr. has been spotlighting the community's movers and shakers. The latest edition features Roland Stanley, which is a name we've been hearing more and more about around town in the last several years. Now, Roland can add Grubbs Market to his growing repertoire.
All right, so I know I've heard that name over the years, and I think probably first heard it around the time that he was opening up Corkit in Main Street Market.
When was that? Because, yeah, that's probably the first time I heard it as well. Does he still own Corkit?
From what I read in Greg's piece, I don't think he does own that one anymore.
So he's got part ownership in several different businesses. You may have heard of the Stag, downtown Gainesville, Peyton's Pie Company. I know you love going there. There's one in Flowery Branch and in Gainesville. Better Days we've talked about here on the podcast before. And my personal favorite, Caroline's on Main in Flowery Branch. It's a really good brunch spot, ladies.
Yeah, so I enjoy learning about Roland from the story, but there's also some big news kind of buried down in there too. One of them about Caroline's.
I know. It's at the literal very end of the article, but when I was reading it, I audibly gasped. I was like, oh, yes. So for those of you who haven't read the article, I will give you this one spoiler. They're going to be looking at opening a second location for Caroline's on Main in Gainesville by Grubbs Market, which is also on Main. So it kind of fits. It's perfect.
Yeah, that definitely works out. So Roland is a pretty young guy and has done a lot.
Yeah, he's 32, which is younger than me. That's all I'll say. And I'm a little bit jealous of his success, but he's local, which you have to be supportive of. You know, he graduated from West Hall. He went to UNG. And, I love to see the community succeed like that. So here's a part of Greg's interview with Roland where he explains a little bit about why he's so invested in the community.
And I was in a program in high school called Youth Leadership Hall, which was really a really cool program. And I remember they asked, "Oh, what do you want to do?" Because the whole part of the program was to get youth to want to stay and reinvest in Hall County, right?
Right.
And I was like, I'm getting the heck out of here when I graduate. But no, I stayed. I love the community. And I still get to travel a lot, which is why I wanted to leave. I just love to travel. And so I love the community. The community's been really amazing to us. And we're just trying to provide the community with great experiences, really.
There's some other exciting news in that article, so I highly recommend reading that, learn more about Roland, and find out some other big dining news. School is out, and in the last week of school, we got some big news that World Language Academy is getting a new building. It was just approved.
Oh, that's really exciting.
Yeah, so I think that building was first built in the 1960s, and they kind of been working toward replacing it. They approved some initial designs back in the fall, but now the news is official.
Yes. So how big are we talking for the new school?
So it's going to fit about 800 students, and it'll cost about $40 million.
So the school that it's in originally has been there for a long, long time. Has it always been World Language Academy?
So no, World Language Academy was actually kind of a new concept back in, I think, 2008. And it's this school where they actually do like immersive curriculum in other languages. So you're not just learning Spanish. but you are like taking a class where your teacher is speaking in Spanish.
Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, so the idea is that like you really build fluency, and I think there are also a lot of kids who have maybe Spanish as a native language. So it's a very unique type of school. And so it was started in this building that actually used to be Chestnut Mountain Elementary, which then moved. So it's in an old building, even though it's a very new concept.
Okay, so they need a new building. They have 600 students. Where will those students go while they're rebuilding?
Yeah, so they are basically tearing the building down, building on the same place. So in the meantime, we had a couple of schools that have merged, McKever and Oakwood.
Mm-hmm.
So these kids are actually going to go over to the Oakwood building for now.
Okay.
And then the new Everwood building is where all of the kids from McKever and Oakwood will be combining into one elementary school.
That's right. And how long do they have to be in attendance at the new school? Well, the temporary school. How long will they be displaced?
So the new school will open in August 2027.
That's awesome. I'm really excited for them. It's going to be great. I always loved going to a new school. I know the way that they do elementary is so different now, but when I was in elementary school here in Hall County,
And Gainesville.
Yes, it was a Gainesville system. I started at Enoda Elementary in pre-K and kindergarten and first grade. And then you went to Centennial. And then you went to Fair Street. And then you went to the middle school.
And I swear Gainesville is the only school system that has done things like that. It is wild to me that that's your normal.
That is my normal. And so this school will be pre-K to fifth grade.
Yes.
But those students get to enjoy the going to a new school experience. I think it's a good experience. And it gets you ready for going into middle school and high school.
I could see how it can make the transition easier. At the same time, like I have enjoyed having my kids at one school to like really build that stability. So I guess it kind of depends on what your kids need.
Whataburger is expanding again, and we have the timeline on when we can expect to see those long lines forming in downtown Gainesville. This will be Hall County's third location to open in under a year.
Are there really long lines for these Whataburgers?
Yeah. So especially the first couple of weeks that they're open in the Oakwood location specifically, it caused traffic issues.
Is that all the UNG students just really needing their fast food fix?
I don't know. I would think that it's new to the area for a lot of people. I'm sure there's still a ton of people who haven't even tried it. And those who have tried it, maybe in southern Georgia or Florida, there's anticipation there. So when it opens and that news breaks, myself included, a lot of people want to go check it out and reminisce or experience something new.
So that'll be the third location in under a year?
Yes. So the first one was Lanier Islands Parkway, which is exit 8. And that one opened in October of last year. Then we had Winder Highway, which is the Oakwood location that opened in December of last year. And then this one, drumroll please, fall of this year. That's the anticipated deadline.
Definitely some people excited about it. I've seen some comments too, people saying it's not worth the hype.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of people are talking some trash about my Whataburger, saying that it was cold. Just like you said, not worth the hype. But you got to go at a good time is all I can say. And they're still so new. They're working out a lot of kinks. I'm going to come to their defense on this one. I just have really good memories of Whataburger
From where?
From trips to Florida.
Okay.
Always had good experiences there. I will say when they announced, I believe the first one that was near us at all was Kennesaw, Georgia. And I was considering driving to Kennesaw just to go get a burger. But then not long after, they announced the one in Buford by the mall. And yeah, I was in that line multiple times.
Well, I have not had a Whataburger, so I can't say
honestly,
anything.
I don't think it's something you would like.
I think you're right. I'm a bit of a healthy foodie person.
Yes, it's admirable.
A bit. It's an understatement.
Yeah, it's very admirable though. It's not like I'm saying Whataburger is healthy or anything that everybody should eat, but it is tasty. It is very tasty. And if you like that kind of thing, that kind of fast food, different burger, check it out.
So you can learn more about that or any of the stories we've talked about today at the link in our show notes. And if you have any news tips or questions, you can email us at podcastadmin@GainesvilleTimes.com. Please like, share, tell your friends, and join us again next week.
See you later.